unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000,000,000 kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teachings. In Buddhism, when practitioners share their understandings of the teachings and practice, it's offered on the basis of dana paramita. Dana being a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this is done without expectation of anything in return when the opportunity arises. And those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis, so please support their practice by giving what you can. Paige very generously offers to give her dana right back to Great Tree, so you can go to the Great Tree, greattreetemple.org, and go to the support tab at the top. We're going to have some Dharma movement today. Paige brings the Dharma to us through yoga and her seasonal embodied practices. So at the turn of every equinox, solstice, she comes to us and she guides us through some gentle movement to sort of tune into the new season. Paige has been practicing yoga and meditation for 30 years and teaching for more than a decade. She offers public classes and private sessions for individuals and groups, leads workshops and retreats, and has long been involved in sharing yoga with those who are incarcerated. She's a lead teacher in Asheville Yoga Center's 200-hour teacher training program and a regular teacher on the Insight Timer meditation app, where she contributes free embodied practices. Paige completed her foundational teacher training and earned advanced yoga certification in yoga therapeutics at Asheville Yoga Center, and she's a longtime student of Reverend Teijo Munnich. Welcome, Paige.
Thank you, Quinn. Thanks so much. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Looks like it's a full house at Great Tree. That's lovely. And Trent and Linda, it's really good to see you on screen. Um, and I know that some people practice later with the recording, so we'll try to make this accessible and appealing to all of those different folks. Looks like all of you, well, Lynn, I can't see you, but I think the rest of you, it looks like you're practicing on the floor on mats. I know some people who practice later with the recording prefer to practice in a chair. So I have a chair behind me, and sometimes I'll guide some things in the chair for those of you who'd prefer to practice that way. And as Quinn said so beautifully, Teijo and I kind of cooked these quarterly practices up to really remind us, that we're not separate from what's happening in the natural world. And often we can feel a little bit more at home in our own bodies, in the world, and connected to each other when we can acknowledge that all of the cycles and the ebbs and the flows and the shifts that are happening in the plants and the trees and the earth and the sky are actually happening in a microcosm of a way in our own bodies. And so just yesterday officially was the equinox, this time of, we could say balance. It's a literal balance of the amount of lightness and darkness in all parts of the world. And it can feel, at least to me right now, kind of like a tumultuous time to think about balance. And so tapping into some of those larger rhythms can offer a little bit of grounding, a little bit of soothing. And I think can also remind us that balance isn't like this fixed point that we achieve, but it's really more of a pulsing responsiveness to each other, to life. And, there may be parts of us right now at this early springtime that are still kind of dormant, still actually craving rest or just kind of tentatively putting out some root systems. Parts of us that may already be kind of exuberant and bursting to life, and parts of us that are maybe just kind of tentatively poking a little shoot up toward the light. So, however you're showing up, however you're feeling in your body is welcome. I'll just be here kind of practicing along with you. So if you get lost, you can look at the screen and catch up, or just get a sense about where we're going. And you should feel free to completely modify what we're doing to suit you, to suit your energy that you're bringing to this. We stay pretty close to the ground, stay pretty slow and gentle, as Quinn said. but feel free to, again, make everything your own. So why don't we start? Looks like everyone's got some good stuff around. It's nice to have a blanket if you have an extra blanket or something nearby. Maybe keep your zafu around. That can serve as a little bit of support for you. Why don't we start on our backs? And so if you have a blanket, it can be really nice. I'll just adjust the screen here so that you can see what I'm doing. I've just folded a blanket here to create a little pillow for my head. I'm a big fan of just putting like a little extra mini roll right there at the edge of the blanket. If you don't have a blanket, don't worry, your head will be fine on the ground. But this is just some extra support. That little mini roll can fit right in the back of your neck. So right away, as you rest down, your nervous system gets the message. Oh, there's some extra support here with the earth itself and that little support behind my neck. I don't really have to work to hold my head in place. It can relax. And then you might even, if it feels okay, on a lot of low backs, it feels nice to start with your knees bent. Maybe widen your feet out as wide as the edges of your mat. You could let your knees drop toward each other so you don't have to force that. Just your feet as wide as they want to comfortably be for you to feel a little bit of that weight and grounding of your legs, heavy leg bones falling toward each other. Of course, if you're in a chair, you can just rest back and feel your feet on the ground. And then it might feel nice. We've been still for a while this morning in our sitting practice. It might feel nice just to let yourself move your way into a state of balance here. You might rock your head a little bit side to side. You might kind of roll your shoulders around and feel your shoulder blades settle back behind your heart. And then just find yourself coming to your own form of balance, relationship to the ground. The part of you being held by the earth, steady, supported. Part of you turned up toward the light, toward sun and air and temperature. Maybe right here at the beginning, just to get ourselves gathered together and tapped into this energy of possible equilibrium, harmony. We could guide our breath a little bit. If you'd like, exhale all of your breaths, let it empty out. And then when you feel ready to inhale, I'll give you a gentle count. You could inhale to the count of 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you feel ready to exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's nice and simple, nothing forced. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. As you're ready to exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more count like that. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. You don't have to continue actually counting, but maybe you can feel that little even flow of inhales and exhales. We call it samavriti, same length of exchange of energy, settling into your body system, your breath pattern. And that little hum of an even quality might just create almost like a personalized metronome to support the beginnings of some movement. If you feel ready from here, you might, if your knees are touching or moving toward each other, you might widen your knees away from each other a little bit, and then you can heel toe your feet back in if they widen. So maybe they're about as wide apart as your hips, and just let your whole body stretch out if it hasn't already. So maybe your legs stretch out long. Your arms could lengthen up alongside your ears, and then just way down at the root system of your feet or way up at the little tendrils of your wrists. Start some slow circles, right? Gently rotate your feet around and your hands around. You might spread through the webbing in between the toes and the fingers. Maybe swirl them around the other way, that little echo, even quality of breath still moving through your body. And then when you feel ready to inhale next, let everything stretch long. You might feel a little bit of brightening, a little bit of vitality in your body. And as you feel ready to exhale, you can scoop your arms around and hug your right knee in. And you might even scoop around and lift your forehead up to that knee and get a little stretch along the back of your spine. And then as you're ready to inhale, everything can stretch out long again. When you feel ready to exhale, other side. Just swing your arms around, scoop your knee in, just back and forth like that. So a nice kind of personalized, even quality of your breath might help guide the movement. Of course, if you're sitting in a chair, you can just be hugging one knee in and maybe bowing in toward it. So the actual form the movement takes is way less important than kind of how you're allowing the even quality of breath and energy to move. And you're always welcome to skip movements altogether and just let it be a breathing practice. If your body is interested in moving a little with a little bit more rhythm or expansiveness than I'm offering, feel free. Maybe one more pulse and movement side to side, even quality. Letting the front body open and then letting that hug back in, just like that little natural rhythm of light and dark. And then the next time you hug a knee in, doesn't matter which one, scoop the other knee up to meet it. You can hug both knees in. If you lifted your head, you could rest it back down. Could feel really nice just to roll right along the ridge of your pelvis and the space of your low back and into your hips. We also try to create practices here that will balance out lots of sitting, which I know some of you spend a lot of time doing, and all of us in the modern world, even if we're not practicing zazen, seem to spend a lot of time in static positions in a seated shape. So we're going to let our bodies circulate and move. You can swirl your knees around a little bit, let your hips open up. And then before we change our whole orientation to the ground, let's do one more set of movements here on our backs for now. A little flowing bridge. You can put your feet back down on the ground. They can be about as wide apart as your hips again. And then we'll kind of build this slowly and see if we can settle back into a rhythm. So press your feet into the earth so you get that grounding, that sense of relationship to the ground, and float your hips up. And as you do that, maybe arc your right arm right up alongside your ear. So you get a little stretch maybe from your right knee all the way up through your right fingertips, and then lower all of that back down. So your hips lower and your arm can arc back down. Nice and slow this first time on the second side. You can lift your hips up when you're ready by your feet grounding. Your left arm can arc its way up. And then as you exhale, everything can lower back down, hips and arm and energy. Just back and forth like that now, back to that even quality of breath, that untangling of anything that's felt a little bit compressed or constricted or gripping in the fronts of your hips. That's where we flex to sit. So we're inviting some breath, inviting some opening. And letting this just be kind of gradual. Some things maybe feel in the springtime like overnight, they're kind of opening up or bursting into color or form, but a lot of things are just kind of emerging slowly and incrementally. So you can let your own system maybe experience some of that too. Little bits of unfolding and emerging. If you feel like you'd like to flow through this one more time with each arm lifting, give yourself time for that. Maybe your back body is starting to feel some strength and some warmth and some energy as you use those muscles to lift your hips. One last time through, and then everything can lower down, all the way back down. And then one time, let's plug our feet into the ground, float our hips back up, arc both arms way up. Maybe they reach right up alongside your ears. You could rise up onto your toes and lift your heels in a chair. You're just lifting your arms and maybe rising up onto your toes. And then as you feel ready to exhale, if you like, leave your arms where they are. They'll extend your spine. And then from the top of your spine, bone by bone, you've got 24 of them. See if you could just imagine laying all 24 bones of your spine back down to the ground. Eventually, you'll lower your heels. And soften your arms. You can bend your elbows. Notice if there's any sense of tingling or vibration or energy or vitality in your breath, your body. And then you can scoop both knees back in if that would feel nice. You can give yourself a little sway, a little rock, a little massage. And then it can feel nice to make even these transitions really gradual. You could roll all the way over to one side. Nice and slow and easy. Press your way up. Take your time. It's a big rearrangement of our bodies in relationship to the ground. Why don't we come over to our hands and our knees? We just call it a tabletop shape. You can unfold a blanket if you've got one, if that would make things a little more comfortable on your knees. If you're in a chair, you can just get nice and settled again, feet on the ground. You might put your hands on your thighs and take your time to get settled here. You might one by one lift your hands and let them ground again. Let yourself rock a little bit, sway your hips a little bit. And then as you find your way kind of back through something that feels nice and neutral, just a nice, easy tabletop shape, let's do some really simple cat-cow breathing and movement. We'll continue with that even quality of the breath and think about as you inhale and arc through your spine and lift your sitting bones like you're climbing your breath all the way up the whole stem of your spine. And then as you exhale, you might start in your low back and gently round and kind of round through your mid back, like the back of your heart is pressing up toward the sky. Heavy weight of your head can go as you round in, back and forth like that. It's a full physical and a full bodied mantra of that brightening and that turning back in, that balancing out of energy that's moving toward the world and moving toward the sky, reaching toward the light. And then that energy that maybe is still kind of nurturing deep down within, rooting into the ground. Another few like that. So it starts to feel again, just like a little ritual in your body. You can be doing these seated in a chair, just moving through your spine. Maybe to balance this movement out and this reaching energy the next time that you tuck and round into that little cat tuck, it looks like a Halloween cat shape. It might feel nice just to send your hips all the way back toward your heels. We call it a child's pose. You can kind of, you don't have to reach all the way back there, but you can. You could reach your arms long. So you start to feel again that length along the stem of your spine. Maybe a little spread along the space of your low back. And you could maybe for a few breaths here, we could just direct the breath up and down that long corridor of the spine. So if you'd like, exhale all of it, let everything empty out again. And then as you feel ready to inhale, begin to start your breath in what feels like your low back and kind of spread it up through the backs of your ribs and maybe up through your shoulder blades, all the way to your shoulders. You could even scrunch your shoulders up by your ears as you do that. And then as you exhale and let the breath move back down that whole long corridor, you could roll your shoulders and wash your breath all the way down to your low back. And try that one more time if you'd like. Like your breath could start deep in your low back and spread up through the backs of your ribs, right up through your shoulder blades. You could shrug your shoulders up to your ears. And as you exhale, kind of a slow roll of your shoulders around and back and down. Nice. And then nice and slow and easy, draw your way all the way back up, all the way back up to your hands and your knees. And let's open up through the little extended roots of the feet. Stretch one leg out. So maybe we'll say the right leg to start, and you could let the ball of your foot be connected with the ground. So as you stretch it out, your ball of your foot is connected. You could reach through your heel, then maybe glide your way forward and back. So you're really feeling little tiny muscles all the way down in your feet, your ankle, tendons of your feet beginning to open up. That little glide and move forward and back on that evenness of your breath might be hydrating in your shoulders a little bit. And then just switch to the other side when you feel ready. That knee can come down, stretch the other leg out. So we're purposely just breathing and moving and circulating and extending energy way down into the tap roots of the feet. Heel, sole of the foot, gliding through your shoulders a little bit. And then you can put that knee down. And now we'll just start to slowly, and you can do this at your own pace, build a little bit of balance here. So we'll stretch the right leg out again. Same thing, the toes can stay connected to the ground. Tiptoe your left fingertips forward. So everything is still touching the ground. Left fingertips, right foot. If you're in a chair, you just might be extending the leg and extending the arm a little bit. And then just begin to experiment. Maybe one of those limbs or maybe both of those limbs feels as if it wants to lift up, and you just notice how the whole body organizes to respond to that. It's not necessarily fixed and static. The body is breathing and organizing, and then put everything back down, knee back down, hand back down, move to the other side, stretch your left leg out. To start with, ball of the foot stays connected, right fingertips can tiptoe forward. So everything is still connected to the ground. And then just see for yourself if any of those points would like to lift up and how the center of your body organizes around that to make this not a static, rigid shape, but something that's responding to what is. Put everything back down again. And then just see, based on what you just learned about your own body, your own balance, if you'd like to move back and forth a little bit. Inhale, one leg and one arm. Exhale, everything can come back down. So this active balancing, again, becomes responsive in relationship to how breath is moving in your body, in relationship to the support that's rising up to meet you here. And that even quality of your breath might invite some even quality of energy in your body. So even if this feels wobbly, or if it feels like it's taking some effort, or if it feels like a piece of cake, you're responding to exactly what is for you. And as you maybe flow through this, say another time or two each side. See if you can just sink into the energy that you're responding to here, that actually you're a part of and helping to create. Last time through. And then the next time, everything comes down, hand and knee. It might feel nice to let your knees get really wide. So a wide-kneed child's pose. Sink your hips back toward your heels. And to balance out what we've been doing in the wrists and the hands, you can wrap your arms beside your body. You might even hold on to your heels and hug your way in. Sitting in a chair, you can just be gently folded forward and resting your arms. And back to and feeling yourself breathing in relationship to the wider world. So that's what breathing is, right? It's an exchange of energy. The plants and the trees are creating the oxygen you need to draw in your next breath. And then you're offering out on your next exhale exactly what they need to reconstitute that exchange of energy and offer you your next inhale. It feels so evident and maybe even close to us at this springtime. Another breath here. And then when you feel ready, if your arms are by your side, you can climb them forward. Ease your way back up. You might, if your knees got wide, put them back together and maybe swing your hips a little bit side to side. And we'll go back to opening up through the fronts of the hips a little bit after that deep fold, that crease in the front of the hip. So if you'd like to step your right foot forward, maybe it takes a few breaths to get it there. And if you feel like the floor is, if you're having to really kind of crouch down to get your hands on the floor, that's where a zafu or a yoga block or anything you've got could bring the floor up a little bit if you want a little bit more space to land in there. Great. I like to walk my right foot over to the right and kind of get on railroad tracks. So I feel like I've got a really steady foundation here. And then when you feel ready to inhale next, that brightening up, that lifting up, your arms can reach up toward the sky. You can feel from your left knee all the way up through your left fingertips, kind of like we did at the very beginning. Maybe there's a little bit more space, a little bit more room to breathe there. And then let's flow a little bit. Exhale, put your hands back down. You can touch the ground. You can touch your support system. You can move your hips up and back, and you might even straighten out through that front right leg. You could even pull your toes back a little bit. So you get a little bit of an extra stretch back there. And then we'll simply move back and forth. Again, that metronome of your breath could guide your movement. So you don't have to be keeping pace with anybody else. You can just let your exhales draw you back in and allow your inhales to kind of brighten and open you up. It's nice and slow. The priority is really that even quality of breath, not forced, just your own even quality, so that both aspects of the cycle of energy, both aspects of us get to be honored here. The parts that want to curl in, fold forward, soften, and be internal, and the parts that are starting to feel ready to emerge and unfurl and reach up and get bright. You can, if you'd like, let yourself flow through that maybe another time or so. If you're in a chair, you can always turn sideways so this lunging shape feels a little bit more accessible. And then when you feel ready to fold in next, you can fold in that front leg gets as straight as it wants. You might even scoot that front heel forward just a little bit. And you can go back to swirling that ankle around one direction and the other direction. And when you feel ready, step your right foot back, right knee back. So you come back to that tabletop shape. You can go back to bringing your knees and your thighs together and giving yourself a little sway. You might let that sway just become organic and free form, maybe all the way into your ribs and all the way into your head and your neck. And then before we do that on the other side, maybe just come to stand on your knees if that would feel okay to you. Again, if you're sitting in a chair, you'll just face forward in your chair. If you'd like to stand up on your knees, you can stand up on your knees. Let your arms just suspend their way forward and then really hug your shoulder heads and back into home base. And as you do that, you might feel a little bit more length along the sides of the back of your neck. You might even give your head a little bit of a sway side to side. Let's cross the right arm over the left. And you can give yourself a real big squeeze there. You might hold on to opposite shoulders. Some of you, if you play around with what we call eagle arms in yoga, you can bring the backs of your forearms together. You could even wrap your forearms. And it's all just kind of individual. Again, you're letting your body wrap itself around these shapes rather than forcing the body into something. When you feel ready to inhale, you could lift your elbows up toward the sky. You could even arc up and back a little bit. And as you feel ready to exhale, it's that same little pulse back down and in. You could round your way in as if your elbows are going to touch your belly button. And a few more times like that. Inhale. And exhale again. It's just a breathing practice, and we're letting some shapes take form around the breath. And maybe one more pulse through like that. The next time you find yourself rounding in with your elbows down towards your belly button, feel that spread, maybe from the back of your heart out through the wings of your shoulder blades. And then we'll reverse that. We'll do the opposite as you inhale and rise back up. Let your elbows lift so much that eventually they unwrap and your fingertips reach back up toward the sky. And as you feel ready to exhale, might even be a gentle open mouth sigh. You could bend both of your elbows and hug your shoulder blades together. Get a little squeeze behind your heart. And try that twice more if you'd like. Inhale, let your fingertips reach up. You might even arc up and back a little bit. And as you exhale, it's like your elbows are trying to hug down, almost resisting something, little squeeze right behind your heart. Try that one more time. Inhale. And exhale, exhale, exhale. You might be like a little solar panel, kind of lifting up toward the light. And then bring yourself all the way back through the middle, all the way back down to your hands and your knees. Again, a little bit of movement. If you want movement, maybe you want stillness, letting all of that settle into your system. And then when you feel ready, let's step the left foot forward. So back into that lunge shape. And again, you could be doing this in a chair. Your left side of your leg on the chair, right leg back. And once you find your way into that lunge shape, get yourself nice and steady so you're not crouching down toward the floor. You can have a nice bit of even space between your back knee and your front foot. And then as you feel ready, you can inhale and stretch your arms up to the sky. And that nice, even metronome of breath will bring your hands back down. You can fold forward. If you're on the floor, you can straighten that front leg, maybe pull the toes back. And back and forth like that. Again, now the rhythm simply becomes your own pace of being in relationship with everything that's supporting you, with how it feels just to be in your body right now on this particular Saturday morning, right on the edge of the spring equinox. And you might be already feeling your own sense of harmony and balance, or you could be kind of edging to one side. Maybe everything is bright and open and energy is rising. Maybe there's more of you that's still tending to some root systems, gestating little seeds. Any of those places is fine. And one of the definitions of yoga practice would simply be to notice where you are. Another pulse through like that. And then the next time you find yourself in that folded forward shape with that front leg straight-ish, you can even scoot that foot forwards. You can maybe draw the toes back and go back to the slow motion roll around through that ankle. The literal roots of your own body, getting some life and some energy, a little bit of hydration and awakening. And as you're ready, ease your way back into that lunge. Step your front foot back to meet your back foot, front knee back to meet your back knee. Again, a little bit of movement. It's always nice to punctuate little flows like that with something that feels a little more organic and tailored to you. And then once more, back up to your knees. You can just have your knees kind of right underneath your hips, be cushioned if you'd like. Float your arms forward like they're just suspending in space, and then hug your shoulder heads back into their home base right there. Other arm on top. So if you did the right arm the first time, it'll be the left arm this time. You can cross way up near your shoulder heads, and then you decide whether you'd like to hug onto your shoulders or bring your forearms together or wrap your forearms. Could be really different on this side. We're seldom symmetrical, even though we strive for some of this balancing energy. When you feel ready, inhale, lift your elbows up. And as you feel ready to exhale, bow your way in. And just a few more like that, just nice and slow and easy, like you're massaging the spaces around your rib cage, where your breath billows, around your lungs and heart, where that emerging energy gets reconstituted. There's no rush here. So the next time you find yourself drawing your elbows down towards your body, toward that little upright cat tuck like shape, pause there. Feel that spread of your shoulder blades. And then one more time, we'll reverse it. Inhale, let your elbows move forward and up so much that eventually your arms can't help but untangle themselves and reach up. You might feel a little fresh energy all the way to your fingertips. As you feel ready to exhale, that little cactus bend of your elbows, you could squeeze behind your heart. You might even lift your heart up toward the sky. A couple more like that. Inhale. And exhale. This time, inhale, lift your fingertips up. As you exhale, you get that little squeeze right behind your shoulder blades all the way down. And let your fingertips drip back down toward the ground. Just feel yourself gently upright here. Feel that energy of your fingertips dripping down, and that could draw your shoulders away from your ears. Bow your heart or your head down towards your heart, and then let one ear just drift over toward its shoulder. You might tip your chin up. You might move through the muscles of your face. You might see if there's anything gripped or holding anywhere here that feels ready to soften. Be a little bit more in harmony. You could drop your brain back down toward your heart, other ear toward your shoulder. Tip your chin up, move through the muscles of your face. Drop your brain back down towards your heart. As you float your face up one more time, kind of exaggerate this, scoop your shoulders way up towards your ears, give them an extra squeeze. You might even sip in a little bit more breath here and see if you can pause right there at the top, all that energy and vitality. And then a gentle sigh, maybe roll your shoulders around and back and let's make our way just for a bit here before we come all the way back down onto our backs into a cross-legged seat. So familiar for a lot of us. You can sit up on a zafu or a blanket, or you can just sit. Of course, if you're in a chair, you don't need to cross your legs. Now let's just do a little breathing into the side body. So in that cross-legged seat, I'm going to sit up on my zafu because it just helps the low back, the curve of the low back. You can see if that's true for you. Walk your right hand off to the right. Stretch your left arm all the way up toward the sky. And then exhale. You could bend your right elbow a little bit and maybe ground through your left hip as you reach that arm up and over. You could even look up under that arm. Breathe into the whole left side of your body here, almost as if you could just breathe in and out through your left nostril. One more breath here. And then inhale. Use that right hand pressing down into the ground to float everything back up nice and slow so you can really take in perhaps some difference in the two side-by-side halves of your body as that arm floats down. And then nice and simple, other side. Your left hand can walk over, right arm can reach up. You might even bend into your left elbow a little bit. That right hip can really anchor its way down. As you arc up and over, like you're teasing open space in the whole right side of your body. And then as you breathe here for just a few cycles, just to feel your body responding to the shape, it's almost as if you could just breathe in and out through your right nostril here. And then press your left hand into the ground to ease your way up. Let it be nice and slow and gradual. So that full stem of your spine comes back through center. And we'll go side to side a little bit. Inhale, stretch your left arm up. Exhale, up and over. Inhale, back up. Both arms can reach up now. Exhale, up and over. Another couple of times each side, so your body can tap a rhythm that feels perfectly supportive to you. Last time through. Maybe you're just breathing in and out through your nose. And feeling and hearing a little bit of the movement of your breath. The next time you come back through center, no hurry, just the next time you come back through center, both arms can reach up. And then swivel your arms so your palms are facing outwards, your palms are facing out. Sip in a little bit more breath. And as you exhale, imagine that your hands are pressing through a little bit of resistance here. So as you exhale, you might feel from your tailbone through the top of your spine growing a little bit taller as your arms slowly, slowly float their way down. You might, as they make their way down, simply rest the backs of your hands on your legs. Let your palms face up. Just notice anything you notice about any energy that you've started to stir up in your body. See if it feels okay here, just to stretch out our legs from where they've been, to lean over to your right. And so I'm coming off of what I've been sitting on. It helps me. And you can make this little kind of pinwheel shape out of your legs, almost like a little 90 degree. If you want to shift your orientation so you're long ways on your mat to feel a little bit more comfortable like that, you can. You can walk your right hand over to the right. You can lean over to the right. You can come down to your elbow and then just stir your left arm around a few times. You could hold on to your shoulder and just stir your elbow, or you could stir your whole arm. So the side body may be a little bit more ready for that. After where we've been, your head and neck could go a little bit, following along just the gentle rhythm, stirring things around. And eventually, when that arm wants to get still, either both hands or both arms, could be both forearms, could be down on the ground. Just kind of lean your way in. It's a little bit like a pigeon pose, but a little friendlier to most bodies. You could sway a little bit side to side. You could just be turned in a chair over to one side, maybe even holding the back. Your head can go. Little forward folding twisted shape. So both that energy and vitality of a twist, the rooting energy of folding in. One more breath here. Nice and slow. Let your hands ground into the earth. Really feel that support, that foundation, that relationship. Ease your way up. You can make your way through the middle. You could maybe put both of your feet down on the ground. You could even widen them a little bit. You could walk your hands back and lean back and give yourself a little side by side windshield wiper movement, that familiar shape of moving from your center one direction and then the other. Maybe your head gently swivels opposite the direction of your knees. And when you feel ready, bring yourself back through the middle. And then we'll just lean over to the other side. So over to the left, or whichever way you didn't do the first time. You can make that little pinwheel shape out of your legs. You may need a different rearrangement on this second side. You can walk your left hand out. You can come down onto your left elbow and forearm. And then your right arm just gets a little bit of freedom to move around. You can bend the elbow or have a straight arm, or put the fingertips on the shoulder. Your head and neck can kind of follow along just the trajectory of your spine and your breath. Maybe one more circle around of that arm. And then just find a place to fold and be still. So both forearms could come down, or both hands could come down as you turn your torso toward the earth. Maybe let your head go. This shape could move a little bit, or it could be still. When you feel ready, press both hands right into the support system of the ground. Ease your way up. Bring yourself back through the middle. And just for a moment, come back, maybe opposite leg in front, come back to a cross-legged seat. Soften your gaze, or you could close your eyes. I'm just going to feel how that movement, that asymmetry now is settling back into the center of your body. Exhale all of your breath. And just with your imagination, inhale through your left nostrils. If you could inhale maybe up the whole left side of your body. And as you feel ready to exhale, imagine you could exhale just through your right nostril, softening the whole right side body. Now inhale through the right, as if you could breathe some vitality into your right side body. Exhale through the left, soft. So that whole pattern once more. Inhale through the left side body, brighten. Exhale through the right side body, soften. Inhale through the right side body, full of life force. Exhale, left, whole left body, soften. Breathing through both nostrils, nice and easy and unforced. Let's make our way back to where we started, back onto our backs to finish, just to let the body integrate for a few moments here. You can go back to creating a little pillow for your head. You can add any support system you like, blanket and warmth over your body. You can just rest back in a chair. If you prefer to sit or lie on your side or anything, it's fine. And we're using this shape, whatever shape you found in this last few minutes of this practice, just to feel all of the parts of ourselves be present and welcome. Parts of you that are rooting and grounding. Parts of you that might be gravitating towards stillness and quiet. Parts of you that feel emergent, that feel like life force is asking them to unfold and to open, to begin either incrementally or with exuberance. Reach toward the light. Feel the ground beneath you holding you. Feel your front body soaking in the light and perhaps then more willing to rest toward your back body. Feel that ever-present companionship of your breath flowing in and out. I'll back my voice out just for a minute or so here, just so you can rest in quiet and soak in anything you'd like to absorb. Gently take in the actual body of the earth holding your body here. And in response to that, take in the sweet vitality of your own breath, animating your body a little more consciously again. And let yourself naturally respond to that. You might find yourself stretching through your own limbs a bit. You might go back to a gentle rock of your head from side to side. If it starts to feel natural and comforting to you, at some point you might once more scoop your knees in toward yourself, like your body folding in toward itself. And that sense of belonging and connection, that whole shape might sway a little bit right along the curve of the earth. And if you'd like to finish in a seated shape, you could take your time, let it be incremental, like the unfolding of a season. You could roll to one side and ease your way up. Maybe like a little bud, you could bring your hands together, kind of like they're holding a little seed pod, maybe right at the space of your heart. You might feel with your hands resting there the energy, the balanced energy of your own heart beating and your own body breathing. And I thank you all so much for creating this time and space together. I saw in the chat that in fact Teijo is here just behind the screen. Teijo, deep gratitude to you again for creating these practices and inviting me into them. Thank you all. Thank you, Quinn, for hosting. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Paige.
I want to make a couple of announcements before we leave for today. Just a second. Our speaker next weekend will be Tori Montrose, and the title of her talk is Buddhism, a Family Affair. And this also reminds me that registration for Children's Retreat this summer is now open. I think that's going to be June 12th through 14th. So if you know of any families or are yourself part of a family that would like to join the retreat, please send me an email at info@greattreetemple.org. Registration for April's session is also open, so please, again, email me if you're interested. That's April 3rd through 8th. And then as I advertised last week, we're also going to be hosting forest bathing with Brooke Reynolds, and that'll be at Great Tree on April 19th, which is a Sunday from 2 to 5. So if you plan to come, just again send me an email, same address. Yeah, that's all I got. Oh, yes, yeah, March 29th, Sunday, family meditation. Is there a theme?
We're thinking Jizo, but we're not sure.
Okay, maybe Jizo. But stay tuned, family meditation next Sunday. Okay, thanks everybody. I'll get back to Merit. Oh, apparently Chinyo will be leading the April session, which is so exciting. So we love Chinyo. Okay, may the merit of this practice benefit all beings and bring peace. Thanks, everyone.